Hey guys, it's Edwin here, and today I'd like to share with you on blame shifting. Blame shifting is a form of emotionally abusive behavior where someone escapes taking responsibility for their own problems by constantly blaming anyone else or anything they can think of. A blame shifter will do something wrong or inappropriate and then look for alibis so that they can escape taking ownership for their own behavior. It's such an insidious manipulative technique which is mostly used by manipulative people who always find any kind of excuse or justification for their toxic actions. It's more of just pointing a finger elsewhere but not on themselves. The thing about blame shifting is it will make the blame party doubt themselves deeply or take fault for something which they don't even have control over. So someone will be faulting themselves for something they don't even have control over. Blame shifting will distort your sense of reality and it will leave you questioning if it's really your fault because the blame shifter is always fully confident of what they are saying. And toxic people love shifting the blame to others so that they can appear as these perfect people and that the problem is always on their partners or just everything else. Instead of changing their behaviors, toxic people will even deflect what's happening in their lives, what's happening in their daily lives to their partners so that they feel good about themselves. And as a result of this, a victim of blame shifting will greatly fault themselves and doubt themselves deeply, and this opens room for more abuse in the relationship. They will find themselves constantly apologizing and compromising on their boundaries so as to impress and meet the needs of their ever dissatisfied partners because they just feel that they are to blame for what's happening in the relationship and not their partner. How do you spot blame shifting in relationships? The first thing is if someone is constantly playing victim. This is where the blame shifter will bring up something totally unrelated to what you are discussing presently so that it looks like they are just a victim and that you are hurting them. For example, you might ask your partner on the weird phone calls they are making, then instead of just addressing that concern, they turn the tables and confront you on how you hurt them when you ask such questions and that you don't even trust them anymore. You end up apologizing for a genuine concern. Like they will quickly flip that script and say that you are now the villain and them they are the victim. And you asking them genuine concerns is a problem and you are hurting them. You are hurting their feelings. So that's playing victim. A blame shifter will also have constant excuses and justifications. A blame shifter will never lack excuses for everything that's happening in their lives. They will complain and complain on how they did something because of what you did to them or because of what someone did to them. They'll even repeat some unhealthy behavior and still use the same excuse for what they are doing. They will just justify everything they do instead of just admitting and taking responsibility. For example, they might say something like, if you wouldn't have done that to me, I would not have hurt you. Just excuses and complaining. That's a blame shifter. Another way to spot a blame shifter is someone who uses pity a lot. A manipulative person will constantly escape responsibility of something hurtful they've done by talking about their painful past. They might do something bad to you, and then when you confront them, they pull off that sympathy card by talking about how they were mistreated by their evil ex or how their childhood was like this and that. You will find yourself comforting them and feeling guilty because you feel that you've made them feel sad or you've triggered some of their unhealed wounds. Yes, most people have a dark past, but for a blame shifter, they will use that card as a get out of jail free card when they've been cornered and they want to escape taking ownership. So they will just pull that pity card or sympathy card when they want to escape taking ownership. Another form of blame shifting is arguing the argument. Blame shifting also happens when you find yourself raising a concern and instead of tackling that concern, the blame shifter starts questioning the way you've raised that concern. They might question the tone of your voice, the words you used, or just anything related to how you convey that message. You will find yourself arguing on how the message should have been put across instead of tackling the issue at hand. It's like the argument now shifts away from the actual concern to how you approach the concern. And that's how they've escaped being answerable, and you find yourself being blamed. And it now turns to something like you are impolite, you are rude, instead of tackling the genuine concern. Another way to spot a blame shifter is if someone constantly minimizes or dismisses your feelings. You might raise a genuine concern, but a blame shifter will tell you that you are exaggerating the concern you've raised. This is more of shifting the blame to how you've reacted to the situation instead of tackling the issue at hand. They will say something like, that's such a small issue to even discuss about it. So your concerns are viewed as so petty, so that they can escape taking ownership for what they've done. The other way to spot a blame shifter is they always add strings to their apologies. Once in a while, like a manipulative person may apologize, but when they do, they will add a but at the end of it. They will never like sincerely apologize, and when they do it, they will just add this but so as to either deflect their actions back to someone else or just justify why they did it. Because adding a but to an apology nullifies the apology in the first place. They will say something like, I'm sorry for what I did, but you should have never said that to me. You see, like they've apologized, but they've nullified the apology with that but. This is because their inflated ego cannot allow them to accept any wrongdoing. And if they accept it, they'll find a way to deflect it back to something else. The last blame shifting technique is the don't care attitude. The last resort a manipulative person may use to deflect the blame is where they don't deny their actions and just put on this don't care attitude. This happens especially when they have been well cornered and they cannot come up with any excuse at that moment. So instead of just accepting and taking responsibility, they might just throw their answers in like, whatever you do as you wish, or go to hell, or yes, I have done it, so what are you going to do now? Like they'll really put on this attitude where this don't get it, where they don't even care about their consequences. Blame shifting is just one of those tools a toxic person can use to catch you off guard and use you to meet their needs. The best way to handle someone who constantly blames you for everything is to always hold on to your version of reality and not what the other person talks about. If you've seen it, it's there, and no one needs to convince you otherwise. Of course, the default is to always stay away from those people who always blame you as much as possible. But when you cannot avoid them, the best thing to do is to stay ahead of the game. It's also good to know that you are never responsible for what's happening in someone else's life. They can blame you day in, day out, but as long as something is not within your locus of control, there's nothing more you can do about it. And if someone blames you for something, it's not about you. Just always know that it's just about them. Another thing you need to always remember is blame shifting doesn't work if there's no one to receive the blame, or if there is no one to listen to the blame. This means that if you find yourself facing a blame shifter, just stay calm and do not react to their false accusations. This is because narcissistic people thrive in that kind of chaotic environment, and their fuel is your reaction. If you keep calm, you will render their accusations powerless. That's it from me today, guys. Have a nice weekend. Until next time, see ya.